going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and today we're going to be talking about the new features coming to Zombies, and the ones we're hoping for, which will bring back the essence of DMZ. Definitely stay tuned. But before we jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, drop a like, and also as a reminder, there's plenty of brand new coverage going up over on detonated.com. For those out there that prefer articles over videos, I know I'm one of those people, and of course, plenty of tweets every hour on Detonated's Twitter. A couple of days ago, I made a big news roundup just to end off the year talking about Season 1 Reloaded for MW3 that applies to MP, Zombies, and Warzone, and the video will be linked down below, since we'll of course learn more information about the mid-season 1 update in the next week and a half, possibly a little bit longer, and I'll make follow-up videos to that one, of course. But yeah, in terms of what's coming to Zombies for the mid-season 1 update, it's not much, but there still is a video I'm making in the next few days, which will talk more about some future seasonal content that will get you guys real excited. But with that, as we posted over on Detonated, MW3 Zombies definitely needs a scoreboard to track eliminations. Funny enough, and something that I forgot to bring up on the recent podcast, is that in a recent creator call for Season 1 with the studio, we actually brought this up to Kevin Drew, and he definitely took note of it, so I'm curious if they'll end up implementing this as soon as Season 2 on February 7th, if that's when it comes out. As we wrote in the tweet, this will be beneficial to track camo challenges and more, which gives more clarity instead of guessing, and I like that multiplayer already has a big improvement for the scoreboard, allowing you to track more information as well. So as long as we see this in Zombies at some point, I think it'll be great and hopefully becomes a staple for all future zombie iterations as well. Now, I also want to get two things out the way real quick, since these two things already leaked out, and they're also formerly in DMZ. We have first off the wallet, allowing you to extract with X amount of money and then take as much as you'd like from that stash into your next game, right? That wallet came pretty late into DMZ, but it looks like it might be coming sooner than later for Zombies, right? An image already surfaced online of what that looks like. I mean, maybe they rework how the wallet system is going forward so that it's a little bit more balanced and isn't as overpowered to the point where you can bring in, you know, 75 to 200k into a game of Zombies. Maybe you guys would rather see it that way, where you could just spawn in with as much money as you'd like, or maybe you guys out there would prefer if there's a bit of a challenge behind it, where there's a cap with how much you can bring in, like 10 to 20k. Let me know how you feel about that. But also when it comes to Exfil streaks, all of these streak rewards already leaked out, and we saw this added in a bit of a different way to DMZ, where when you were on an Exfil streak, it would give you a specific perk that your operator would then spawn in with. Sadly though, the perks were kind of bugged in DMZ for a while, then they eventually fixed it, but I think here for Zombies, the rewards are much more valuable, and it's unclear if all the rewards stack, including the ones that give you points, or if maybe you get all the Exfil streak rewards, but then the ones with the points don't stack. You'll just get the last one. Like if you're on Exfil streak 10, you'll spawn in with 5k, but you won't get the other point streak rewards that you saw previously. Who knows how they'll work, but these two things have already leaked out. Images have surfaced online, and I'm sure they'll be releasing relatively soon. But the rest of the things here in this video, I believe, are a given. These things will end up dropping guaranteed. I'm pretty confident about these, considering how important they are to the gameplay loop, and especially if other zombie maps do end up releasing for MW3. Let's start off with more operator slots. This one's essentially a guarantee. I really do believe there'll be bundles really soon, probably either in Reloaded or Season 2, that do offer more operator slots, similar to what we saw for DMZ back during MW2's life cycle. I see no reason for them to just restrict us to 3 operator slots. I'm surprised they haven't already dropped bundles with more of them, but hopefully there's a way where we can unlock additional slots by doing extra act missions eventually, or doing some other Easter eggs. That would actually be cool. I mean, I'd rather go through a tedious Easter egg to get an extra operator slot instead of a calling card or a loading screen. That's just the way I think. But for those out there frustrated with the lack of extra operator slots, I think this will be fixed in the next couple of weeks. But one thing that I wanted to bring up, which is probably the most unlikely part of this video here, is 6-player queue. Now, obviously we could assimilate to a 6-man squad inside of MWZ, similar to what you used to be able to do in DMZ, but I do find it a little problematic that for those out there that just want to play with 3 other friends, you can't do that. I mean, I love the idea of assimilation. I think it's great for community building and meeting some new friends in a lobby, but what is the harm in just allowing you to spawn into a match with your entire squad? If you have a 6-man ready to go, I mean, maybe they could limit it and balance it some way where you can't spawn into Urzikstan with a 6-man, but at least the Dark Ether. That would be cool if there was another Easter egg they released where you can bypass the Sigil quest and just spawn directly into the Dark Ether, either version, right out the gate, and then from there you can spawn in with 6 people, but for Urzikstan you always have to assimilate. Maybe they'll do it that way, but I just want to play around with that idea real quickly, since it's the only part of the video that I think is the most unlikely for future content. But next up, the bigger backpack update. This is something that's also a little odd, because a large backpack in DMZ allowed you to hold a 3rd weapon, whereas in MWZ it doesn't, and we know Mulekick as a perk already leaked out, which I find to be the most redundant perk to add into an extraction-based zombie game. They should have just had the large backpack release in in Season 1 Reloaded or Season 2, which would allow you to hold a third weapon, and then up until this point now, we only had access to a medium backpack, or if anything, just add in an extra large backpack that lets you do this. But I guess they just want to release Mulekick for whatever reason, and I guess that'll just increase your bag space. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but yeah, I do think it's possible that bundles in the future as well could also have, the ability to spawn in with a medium backpack, but maybe not a large one, because DMZ never allowed you to spawn in with a large one. So we'll have to wait and see how they balance this, but it's also something that I'm sure the community wants to see, the ability to hold 3 weapons. If you have 2 that you're working on camo-wise, and then a wonder weapon as a third weapon in your inventory, that's something that I'm sure is also coming really, really soon. Now, something else that's been fairly problematic for the entire zombie community over the last month and a half is the limited stash space, right? Especially in Season 1 with how many new items got added in. People out there were doing bugs to hold 60 items in their stash when you're only supposed to hold 10, and that created a number of issues as well, because then Season 1 came out and people out there had their full inventories reset, maybe because of the bug that they did, which kind of broke their account, or who knows how, but people out there were having a lot of inventory issues when Season 1 initially dropped. And the way I see it, it's just like, all right, people want to hold at least 30 things minimum, right? Let's at least increase it to that, maybe not 60 or 100, but let's have it to where they fix the stash space issue instead of forcing people out there to do glitches to hold on to more items. When there's so many that keep getting added in, we want to take advantage of everything that we have and everything that got added content-wise, so all we need is just a little increase of the stash space, and maybe there'll be a way to unlock that through a mission or through an Easter egg, or it'll just get hotfixed into the game with one of the upcoming title updates. That's what I'm hoping happens. I believe this was an issue in DMZ early on, which also got fixed, where they separated your keycard inventory from your actual stash. That's what they could do for MWZ as well. Separate if you're holding acquisitions versus your schematics versus your random loot that you extracted with versus contraband, whatever else. Let's start separating a lot of those things so that people out there can hold on to more. Now, something that I think isn't coming for a couple of seasons is the ability to barter or craft exclusive items, right? There's obviously a lot of useless items around Urzikstan, which you can exchange for essence. That's important if you want to get some extra cash, but what about the ability to barter something while using those useless items? That came to DMZ, and I thought it was a brilliant feature just to get your hands on things that might take you longer to go ahead and collect if you're just playing regular matches to regain, focusing on killing other players, or saving up a bunch of cash to go buy the items directly. If you're able to find X amount of useless items and you can craft that into something useful, then hell yeah, let's bring that in. And I'm sure this is coming to zombies at some point, but probably in a more unique way. They'll probably make it to where it's like, hey, you find 3 or 4 useless items here, you can craft that into a perk or an ammo mod. That would be great, because the ability to go ahead and get ammo mods is also just RNG based inside of MWZ. So I think that would be brilliant to have a direct way to get that, even if it is through bartering. And then I brought up exclusive items to craft, right? That's something that we also didn't see till pretty late in DMZ's life cycle. The ability to go on a bit of a fetch quest to go ahead and craft an item that very few people out there will ever unlock, such as the gun screen from Koshai Complex, or even something like the Serpentine camo. I would hope that they make it a little bit more fair to go ahead and craft something like that inside of MWZ if they do add rewards like that in the future. And I'm sure Treyarch will probably do it a lot better than what we saw in DMZ. So fingers crossed there'll be something like that added to the buy station in the future. Now, something that's a glitch but could turn into an actual feature, which we saw in DMZ full time, is PvP. Now, I've been very vocal over the last few months that PvP is not needed inside of the current iteration of MWZ, but I wouldn't mind a separate map or a separate LTM for MWZ, which does incorporate player versus player. I think right now it would be very frustrating to try to go ahead and take on the Red Worm or do difficult contracts or go to tier 3 with the danger of real people being behind you, camping certain spots, killing you, stealing your loot. That's not something that MWZ needs right now, but I think a separate map that's similar to Koshai Complex, where you have specific areas designated for PvP, that would be pretty damn cool, right? Essentially, PvP is locked in Koshai Complex until your teams out there make it to the middle of the map. Then you can fight there, or you can actually chase other teams back to where they spawn from, but there just won't be real players when people do spawn in, right? People have to open doors first to then access PvP, and then those rooms are open for everybody. That would be cool for zombies at some point. I really wouldn't be opposed to that if it was a separate LTM, separate map, or just different experience from what we currently have in Urzikstan. Now, PvP and MWZ would of course be something where you go into it knowing that there's a risk of maybe losing your inventory, whereas Whereas MWZ right now on Urzikstan or the Dark Ether or another map eventually, those would be experiences where you know it's just PvE. You don't have to worry about other real people. You can assimilate. But I think having a map or mode designated for that would be a cool high risk, high reward situation where you either go in with nothing or with a lot of things, and then you take the gamble of trying to kill other people to steal what they have with the risk of also losing your own stuff as well. Now, last thing I'll mention, which will certainly bring back the essence of DMZ, is the addition of weapon cases. Now, reportedly, according to the usual data miners over online, weapon cases are coming into Zombies at some point. We already know they're coming into Warzone with Season 1 Reloaded, which I couldn't be more excited about because, yeah, DMZ lives on that way. I loved covering DMZ last year, and I'm glad that certain elements that really worked for that mode are making their way into Warzone and now Zombies. Apparently, weapon cases are coming to MWZ. It's unclear how they'll be implemented or what they'll unlock. Do you have to get 6 or 7 of them to get all the rewards? Will they be tied to a certain boss? I mean, just crossing my fingers that we get something as cool as blueprints, even without tracers, or an operator skin, or something else that hardcore zombie fans would really appreciate. I'm looking forward to that because that gives you more replayability for an extraction-based experience, right? For those out there frustrated with the fact they only have an hour to play, it'd definitely be a lot more worth it if for 5, 6, 7 games, you go in to extract with a specific item that'll give you a pretty valuable reward. I love covering those in DMZ, and I think they'll be done even better here inside of MWZ. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave our thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on all the new features coming to MWZ, some of which have leaked out, some of which we're just hoping for, which are kind of a given since these are things that will make the game that much better? And how do you feel about the essence of DMZ living on through both Warzone and even Zombies? Really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everybody.